What is going on YouTube? It's your boy Advice back again, and today I'm going to run you through some games from a tournament I played in this weekend. It was a pretty good sized tournament with some notable names like Nino Pokebros and Colin Hire TheBattleRoom. So I chose these three games in particular because they stood out to me. I want to emphasize the importance of looking back on your games that you've played and figuring out what tendencies you have and decisions you make that can get you into trouble, make the game more difficult. A lot of times people lose and, they want to blame RNG or, just, not think about it at all. But realistically, when you lose, it's probably because there were some plays that you made, especially in the early game, that were either too defensive or too aggressive, that got you in trouble. So I'm going to run through these games and talk about plays and decisions I made and why I made those particular plays and decisions and things I felt like I could have done better. Now, this first opponent of the tournament in particular has Rillaboom, Volcarona, Dragonite as some big offensive threats, and then Jellicent, Golisopod, and Glowking as a Trick Room option. So against Trick Room, I like to bring Amoonguss. Obviously it's slower than every Pokemon in his team besides the Glowking, and threatens Spore and Trick Room to make my game a little bit easier. I like Zapdos in the Trick Room matchup as well. It has Roost and max HP and a lot of defensive investment, so I can kind of eat hits and roost them off and stall out Trick Room that way while I apply pressure with Amoonguss. And I like Dragapult in this game. It deals with the Jellicent and the Slowking pretty well as the Rillaboom. And I round the team out with Heatran. I felt like Heatran was really good against Volcarona if he brought it, and it has Earth Power for the Slowking. So, and if they don't have Super Power on Dragonite, it's a Dragonite wall as well. But yeah, so you can see I didn't bring Politoed, and the reason I didn't bring Politoed was because he had Dragonite and Slowking that both inside and outside of Trick Room really threaten Amoonguss, and if I couldn't keep Amoonguss on the field, I was worried about bringing Politoed and setting up the rain, having his water spouts do massive damage to my team in Trick Room. So I left Politoed behind, and you will see how difficult that decision made my endgame. But our opponent leads Rillaboom and Jellicent into my Amoonguss and Zapdos lead. Now, initially I was thinking I'm just going to go Spore and Thunder into Jellicent, threaten it with both Pokemon. But then I realized if I go Thunder into Jellicent and it gets paralyzed, I can no longer put it to sleep under Trick Room. So I didn't want to do that. Instead, I decided to protect Amoonguss and go Hurricane into Rillaboom, get some big damage on it before Trick Room gets up. But my opponent does not decide to go for Trick Room turn 1. They go for a Fake Out into Zapdos and just Water Spout in my face. So now I'm on the back foot. I had a free Spore into Jellicent there, or Sludge Bomb into Rillaboom, but now I go for the Spore, and I'm nervous about going for a Roost because that Water Spout did about half my HP, so if they double up into me again, I risk losing my Zapdos. So I go for the Detect so I can get that Spore off first before I do anything else. So they do switch out Jellicent into Volcarona. So once it's Safety Goggles Volcarona, it's going to sleep. We get the Detect, block the Grassy Glide, and then Volcarona goes to sleep. So now I'm in a good position. Volcarona hasn't taken the mandatory sleep turn because it switched in, so I can go for a Sludge Bomb and a Roost here pretty safely. Now, the other thing I wanted to scout for when I went for that Detect was if they have Wood Hammer, because if they predict me roosting and they go for a Wood Hammer, I lose my flying type. And Wood Hammer, if that Rillaboom is offensive enough, can just pick up in terrain. So it doesn't look like they do have Wood Hammer. Volcarona takes its first turn of sleep. I roost off all the damage. And then Sludge Bomb does a lot to Rillaboom, so we know it's not Assault vested. We get the poison as well. So now things are looking better than they did after turn 1. Poison does a little bit more damage than Grassy Terrain heals. So that Rillaboom is chipping down. Just gonna go for another Sludge Bomb into Rillaboom and try this Hurricane out into the sleeping Volcarona. So we saw that Volcarona was faster than my Zapdos. My opponent decided for the faster mode of his team while Amoonguss was still on the field. And I do have Heatran in the back, but Heatran's good defensively against Volcarona, but it doesn't have any super effective damage into it, so I want to take care of this Volcarona as fast as I can, especially while Jellicent is off the field. So Grassy Glide does decent damage into Zapdos. Volcarona does stay asleep for a second turn. We connect the Hurricane. Not an OHKO, but great damage. And we get the Confusion. Sludge Bomb picks off Rillaboom. And the game is looking pretty good. They have Jellicent in the back. Hasn't taken any damage yet. And a Pokemon we haven't seen. They bring out the Dragonite, so we know they're 4. They've only seen 2 of my Pokemon. I go Sludge Bomb into Volcarona to pick it off. I don't want it to wake up and get off Quiver Dances. And, you know, I'm worried about them going Extreme Speed with Life Orb into Zapdos, but I figure they probably want to deal with Amoonguss. So I'm just going to go for a Roost. And I have faith in my Amoonguss to survive anything this Dragonite can dole out. Because my Amoonguss is almost max HP, max defense. Volcarona wakes up and hits itself in Confusion, so we get off a Roost. Brings us almost up to full health. And then Dragonite goes for a dual Wing Beat. First hit, we take well, Rocky Helmet Chip, and survive the second hit. Shout out to the EVs. And after Life Orb, Dragonite's almost at half health. Sludge Bomb picks off the Volcarona. Amoonguss has 2 KOs this game and survived a super effective Life Orb dual Wing Beat. So Amoonguss for MVP. Now they gotta bring out Jellicent. Now I'm thinking that their play is to Extreme Speed into Amoonguss and set Trick Room up. I want to go for the Protect and just go for a Thunder into Jellicent. We protect Amoonguss. They do go for that Extreme Speed. And we miss our first Thunder. They get up the Trick Room, but I gotta switch out Amoonguss because Extreme Speed's gonna pick it off. And now that Trick Room's up, it's really important, so I want to get the Regenerator back on it. We'll just go for another Thunder into Jellicent. I know that their priority is the Amoonguss, and Roost could have been a good play here, but I want to get off Thunder to reduce future Water Spout damage. So we take the Extreme Speed with Dragapult. They get off a Water Spout. Both Pokemon take it pretty well, and we miss another Thunder. That's 2 in a row. Now, I want to go for Phantom Force if they let me get it off, and just Detect here, stall out a turn of Trick Room. See what they're going to do. Neither one of my Pokemon take the double up from Water Spout and an attack from Dragonite, and Dragonite is slower than both of my Pokemon, so it'll move first in Trick Room. So we get off the Detect. I need to preserve at least one of these Pokemon. They go for Extreme Speed into Zapdos, and they reveal Shadow Ball. So Dragonite whiffs an attack, but Dragapult goes down. Now I can bring in Amoonguss. It's slower than Jellicent and is guaranteed to survive even a Life Orb Extreme Speed from Dragonite at this range. And Zapdos is too, as a matter of fact, so I'm free to get off another Thunder into Jellicent, and Spore will hit first, so Thunder won't paralyze Jellicent. Third time's a charm, right? We should hit this one. Extreme Speed into Zapdos instead. Doesn't pick up. We get off the Spore. Jellicent takes its first turn of sleep, and nope. That's another miss. 3 in a row. You love to see it. I'm going to Spore Dragonite and protect Zapdos. Stall at the last turn of Trick Room. Put Dragonite to sleep as well. Jellicent has taken its mandatory sleep turn, so it can wake up any turn at this point. But I don't really have any other options. We blocked the extreme speed with Zapdos. Spore into Dragonite. Because it went for extreme speed, it hasn't taken a turn of sleep yet, so that worked out for us as about as best as it could. Okay. Now, I want to go for Sludge Bomb into Dragonite. And I'm going to go for a Roost, because once Dragonite's gone, Jellicent can't kill my Zapdos in one turn from beyond half HP. So, Dragonite stays asleep. Jellicent stays asleep. We get off a Sludge Bomb. It gets a crit, but it doesn't pick up, so. Now I want to finish off this Dragonite with another Sludge Bomb from Amoonguss. If I can take care of Dragonite, it is a 3v1 against this ever-evasive Jellicent. Dragonite stays asleep. As expected, Zapdos whiffs another Thunder, so they get off a full-powered Water Spout, bringing both Pokemon into the red. Critical hit on Amoonguss. Amoonguss gets the hat trick, 3 KOs. Finishes off Dragonite. So now it's a 3v1, but both my Pokemon are about to drop, and I can't switch Heatran in if they're going to go for a Water Spout, so I cannot afford to get my Regenerator back, so I'm just going to go for Protect and Thunder. And this time Zapdos has to connect for me, right? Wrong. Now they get off a full Water Spout yet again. Zapdos goes down. Thanks for playing, bruh. You'll get him next time. So now I'm stressing like, no way I get 3v1'd by a Jellicent. And I'm thinking, you know what? They're probably just going to go for another full Water Spout. I need to go for a double Protect here. I want a Spore, but they're not setting up Trick Room. It's Water Spout. They want to take care of Amoonguss. So, going for the double Protect was my best option. I do get it. RNG giveth after RNG taketh. Earth Power does a cool 40% with the crit. And we get the Spadef drop. You love to see it. So for the first time this game, Water Spout isn't going to be full powered. Does just under half to Heatran. So now I'm thinking, alright, maybe with another Earth Power, Amoonguss survives this Water Spout, and if they go Shadow Ball into Amoonguss, then I get off 2 Earth Powers and get the W. So Spore is just a good play, and if I do survive, or if they go for Trick Room, it covers for both options. I had just built this team about 2 hours before the tournament. Had only played like 5 games on Showdown with it, but this sub Heatran had done really well in 2 games that I played on Showdown against Trick Room. Never really used Heatran before in Spikemuth Cup, but I like the way it plays, and my Heatran on Showdown had Flamethrower, but I didn't realize the one in game had Heat Wave, and I wasn't paying attention when I was putting the team together in game before the tournament started. So I like Flamethrower better on Heatran for the accuracy and for dealing with things like Celesteela and Registeel. They're bulky, and I'd like to have full powered Flamethrowers. So especially if I'm playing with Rain, you know, against things like Kartana and Ferrothorn, I want to be able to get off as much damage as possible through the Rain. So Flamethrower is better than the spread damage. So we get that win. So skip ahead in the tournament. We are 4 games in at this point, and I have won 2 and lost 2. Zapdos is a great defensive option. Takes a lot of hits and can heal stuff off, but when Rain hasn't been up, it just has not been cooperating this tournament. And it cost me in 2 of the games, but I'm torn because I really like Zapdos's capabilities, and you know, when it is in the rain, it's a monster. So we draw TheBattleRoom. He's at 1597. So only 4 or 5 games in the tournament. He's doing crazy well, probably in first place now. He's got a tough team with Porygon, Incineroar, Stakataka for Trick Room option, and then Kartana, Feenia, Lecky, you know, for a faster mode. And team is really threatening, and I'm thinking he's gonna go Trick Room, so I go Heatran Amoonguss so I can threaten Spore and Substitute on the first turn. And then if he brings the Kartana, you know, Heatran's really good into that. I have Dragapult and Zapdos that can deal with Kartana pretty well. But I'm debating between a Lecky. But I think if he doesn't go the fast mode, he goes Trick Room, Zapdos is just better. So go Politoed, Zapdos. Politoed deals with the Stakataka really well, and Incineroar can try to get accuracy drops on Porygon. So I got a game plan, but quickly everything goes awry because he does not lead the Trick Room like I thought he would. He goes Regieleki, Tapu Fini. So Amoonguss is in good position, but Heatran is not. You know, with a Muddy Water and a Thunderbolt, Heatran probably goes down if his Pokemon are offensive enough. So I want to go for a Sludge Bomb right away into this Fini, and then try to switch out Heatran, but I have Politoed and Zapdos in the back, neither of which are good switch-ins for the combination of water and electric. So I'm thinking about protecting here. I want to save Heatran's health, but then I start realizing, you know what? If I protect here and he predicts it, he can double into Amoonguss with an ice move and like a Volt Switch. He doesn't do that. And I figured Earth Power was good. He didn't have any switch-ins to ground moves, but he goes for a Muddy Water. We take it really well on the defensive Heatran, but they get an accuracy drop. I go for Earth Power into Protect. It was a great Protect. Sludge Bomb on Amoonguss. My Amoonguss has 68 special attack EV, so pretty invested. It does just over half, so now I'm thinking, alright, no way he leaves Tapu Fini in when I can just protect Heatran. So I do protect Heatran, but at this point, if Kartana comes in, I don't have enough HP to survive a Sacred Sword, and I don't have any way to slow it down besides Icy Wind from Politoed, who dies to Leaf Blade. So I'm just in a losing position at this point, and I should have preserved Heatran better. You know, that Thunderbolt there probably would have KO'd me. I do get the Sludge Bomb call correctly and go into Regieleki, but his Regieleki's defensive enough to not take half, so. And with Misty Terrain up, I can't get a poison. Now I'm in an awful position. I want to switch in Zapdos to take this Sacred Sword, an electric move, but I'm just playing on the back foot at this point. I can't use Spores to get myself back in position because of the Misty Terrain. He goes for Electro Web, gets good damage into Zapdos. And he does go for the Sacred Sword, but again, no chance of static because of that terrain. So Tapu Fini with Kartana is a tough matchup for this team. I do make a good play and predict the Kartana switch in, but I couldn't do anything to punish it. So Regieleki stays alive with just a sliver of health. I want to protect Amoonguss and try to roost. But I'm just thinking, dang, like, there's really not much I can do here. So I do go for the protect. And it's like, I'm thinking to myself right now, I don't think there's any way to win this game anymore. And it's realistically because of the bad play I went for on turn 1. I needed to protect my Heatran, but he didn't have any Earth Power switch-ins, so I thought I had a good Earth Power, and I thought he knew that I needed to protect my Heatran, so he would, you know, maybe like go into Amoonguss with like an Ice Beam on Fini, or, you know, some kind of double up into Amoonguss, but he didn't do that, so I lose Zapdos. He goes for the Guillotine into my Protect. And now I bring in Politoed just to keep his Kartana away from my Amoonguss, because I don't want it to go for Guillotine again. At this point, I'm thinking if I am going to win, my only chance is Amoonguss, but realistically, there's no way around the Kartana anymore. Zapdos has gone down, and Heatran is at half health, so it'll go down to Sacred Sword, so This was already GG's, but I figured I'd keep playing just for the fun of it. Never played BattleRoom before, and you know, I wanted to pick up as much information as I could about how he finished the game. So I'm thinking, all right, maybe he'll predict me to protect here. I can't protect Amoonguss, so free attack, but no, he doesn't. He just doubles up into Politoed with Sacred Sword and Fake Out. So I do get off a Sludge Bomb into Incineroar for some chip, but at this point, you know, all my Pokemon that can damage Kartana are within Kartana KO range, and he's faster than me, so I'm out of options here. I just figure let's just go for a Muddy Water. So now I'm scrambling, trying to figure out a way out of this mess, but there's nothing. My Heatran is Flash Fire, so even though terrain's down, if I switch in Heatran for the Politoed slot on like a Leaf Blade, I can't get the burn because I'm not Flame Body, so... And I like having Flash Fire on Heatran to make it a nice switch in for Amoonguss against Incineroars. So I figured let's just go for a Muddy Water if they let me get an attack off, see how much it does. They don't. Politoed goes down. Kartana gets that Beast Boost. They go for a Parting Shot on my Amoonguss. So yeah, I mean, game was lost on turn 1. It's because I didn't protect my assets. I needed to save that Heatran. Heatran was the most valuable Pokemon against Kartana. No excuse for not saving it. And yeah, I got punished. So tough part of this was I really expected them to go the Trick Room route, and BattleRoom decided not to. So that already caught me off guard, but yeah, definitely protecting Heatran at least on turn 1 could have put me in a much better situation, because as you saw, the Feeny wanted to switch out after I got that turn 1 Sludge Bomb off on it. I could have created some mind games switching out Heatran and saving it for after the Feeny was gone. But it was just, with the Pokemon they brought and the Pokemon I brought, it was a tough matchup. Alecki in this situation would have been much better, but I didn't want to bring Alecki into Trick Room, so... At the end of the day, BattleRoom just made a better decision on which Pokemon to bring and caught me out of position, so... I did get the consolation KO on Feeny, but beyond that, I got wrecked. I got destroyed. It wasn't close. It was like in the Fast and the Furious, the first one, when Johnny Tran's racing Jesse at Race Wars, and Jesse makes that bad early move hitting the Nitrous, and Johnny Tran plays it slow and then takes off on him. Too soon, Junior. So I got a lesson taught to me by BattleRoom. I appreciate that. Thank you for the game. Hope we can play again sometime. Had a lot of fun. It was cool to see how he played. No shame in losing to BattleRoom. He's a great player, and you know, lessons were learned. So cannot risk losing my Heatran no matter what against a Kartana matchup like that. I should have switched out, but yep, enjoyed the game still, and it was good to watch it back and learn from it. So I won the game I played after BattleRoom, and this is the game after that here. So I'm sitting at 3-3, 1502, so I haven't made any progress up the ladder, but I played some good games, and we see our next opponent, 1576 Dottie, so probably in the top 3 in the tournament at this point. He did finish in the top 3. He was number 3 at the end. I finished number 6. So behind BattleRoom, Dottie, and Nino Pokebros. Nino Pokebros was 1 point ahead of me in the final ladder score. So in this matchup, I'm thinking, all right, he probably leads Politoed Kingdra. I was going to go Regieleki and try to get a Thunder Wave off on Kingdra, but then I realized he has Raichu, and I'm not going to risk it. So I think my best option is to lead Amoonguss Dragapult, bring Zapdos in the back. Zapdos does good damage into everything on his team. And then I'll finish up with Heatran. If I can preserve Heatran well, you know, play a good defensive game, I can save Heatran for the endgame Ferrothorn. So that's what I went for. felt like this was my best option against a good player. So, leading Amoonguss Dragapult here. Dottie goes Politoed Kingdra. So, I'm thinking that he's not going to go for a Draco Meteor and risk losing all his momentum if I go for a Rage Powder. So, I don't know if he's going to go for Hurricane or Muddy Water, but I figure, you know what, let's just go for a Spore into Kingdra and Dragon Dance. If I can put Kingdra to sleep, even if he does KO Dragapult, Kingdra's asleep, and maybe I can make some things happen with Zapdos and Amoonguss. And if I can get off a Dragon Dance, I'm in really good position against his team. So, I mean, unless he brought the Comfey, in which case I can put in work with Amoonguss. But he goes for the Hurricane turn 1. Life Orb Kingdra doesn't pick up the KO. I go for a Dragon Dance. I see Ice Beam come out, so I know something's taking big damage, but fortunately he doubled up into Amoonguss, wanting to prevent the Spore, probably predicting the Protect on Dragapult. So now I'm in great position. I can bring in Zapdos. Now I got 2 offensive threats. And Kingdra is forced to Protect here if it wants to survive or switch out. But if he does, then Politoed's taking double Dragon Darts if he protects. So I'm going to go for Dragon Darts. And then I think I go for a Thunder here. Hurricane was probably a better play. But I wanted to take out that Politoed before it got an Ice Beam off onto Dragapult. So I figured, you know what, if he does go for the Raichu switch in here, you know, we'll just have to deal with that as it comes. But he doesn't switch out Kingdra or Protect, so Dragon Darts picks up the Kingdra. Super bulky Politoed doesn't even take half from it, but I got a Thunder coming. I thought it missed for a second when I was playing, but I realized he's Wakan Berry, so. Good Politoed set. It does take the Thunder, but it gets paralyzed. And it gets fully paired, so I got a little bailed out there, but yeah, we take that. So in comes Ferrothorn. So I want to go for a Thunder. I should have just gone for Hurricane. Thunder was a bad play here, but I wanted to go for a Phantom Force into Ferrothorn. But yeah, looking back on it, the play there should have always been Dragon Darts and then Hurricane into the Ferrothorn. But they protect. I go for Phantom Force. Thunder whiffs into the Protect. And he gets off an Iron Defense, so that was a great play by him. I should have gone for the Hurricane. That was a bad play. Now I go for another Thunder. And I get punished. He switches in the Raichu, so I'm like, alright, damn. Now I'm really getting outplayed. After a good turn 1 and turn 2. He's starting to turn the game back around, but I am fast. And I don't know how defensive this Raichu is. But I take a Leech Seed here, so the good news is that Ferrothorn doesn't have any damage besides Leech Seed into Dragapult. And I resist all of Raichu's attacks as well. Now, he could have nuzzled me here, but I predicted the Fake Out on Zapdos. I figured he wanted to go for a Fake Out and Leech Seed on Zapdos at this point. So I didn't want to take damage or Leech Seed on Zapdos. So deciding what to do, I think Dragon Darts is always the play. I was debating between Phantom Force and Dragon Darts, but I go for the Detect. I think he's more worried about taking care of the Zapdos, who can still do good damage on Ferrothorn with Hurricanes. Pretty defensive Raichu. Only takes about 80-85% with Dragon Darts, but he goes for the Eerie Impulse on Zapdos. So another Iron Defense comes out. So I'll take that because there's no rain, but there's going to be rain again soon when Politoed comes back. So I can just finish off this Raichu with a Dragon Darts. Leech Seed is ticking away, but I have at least 2 more turns in me, I believe. So I'm going to go for the Hurricane on Ferrothorn and Dragon Darts. Raichu's going to either go down here or switch out. Raichus don't usually have Protect. They just have too many moves they want to run, and when I saw Eerie Impulse, I was like, alright, Eerie Impulse, Nuzzle, Fake Out. And they probably want to have some kind of move like Volt Switch, so he switches in Politoed, takes a Dragon Dart, finishes it off. Ferrothorn takes a little tiny bit of chip from the Dragon Dart, and then Hurricane goes off. And doesn't quite do half, but we do get a confusion, so now he's got to fight through hitting himself to make it harder for him to get off Leech Seeds. He goes for an Iron Defense here. I was glad to not see Leech Seed into Zapdos. So, leftovers, a little bit of Leech Seed, and I go from 44 down to 23, so I know that I die next turn no matter what. So I was glad that he switched Politoed in there because it meant that he couldn't protect it. So I go for a Hurricane into Ferrothorn, but I decided, you know what, no, let's go for the Detect. I don't want to get Fake Out and Leech Seeded. Because if he can get a Leech Seed up on me, Body Press will then at +6 probably do enough to KO with the Leech Seed. So we get off of Dragon Darts. Raichu goes down. A little more chip into Ferrothorn before I go out. He does go for that Leech Seed into Zapdos, so we waste another turn. Little leftovers recovery. And then that Leech Seed gives him back a little bit more HP. So now I do have plenty of rain turns left. I think 3, because the Politoed switched in, got KO'd, and then Raichu switched in, got KO'd. So 3 turns left of rain. I have Heatran. So I did save the Heatran really well. So now I got to cover, because my Heatran isn't Flamethrower like I wanted, it's Heat Wave. I got to cover for the Heat Wave miss. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go here for, I'm deciding how I'm going to approach it. But yeah, I decided to go for a Hurricane, so I can get at least 2 Hurricanes into Ferrothorn before the rain ends. And I went for a Substitute with Heatran just in case he ignored Heatran. And also, you know, it just gives me another turn where he's not focusing on Zapdos because he wants to take out the Heatran. So he gets some leftovers, but you know, 2 more Hurricanes will do it. I figured since I went for Sub on the last turn, he's not going to risk protecting, trying to stall out rain, so I just go for Hurricane and Heat Wave, and I do get the double connect, so Ferrothorn goes down, and GG to my opponent. If you have the capability, I definitely recommend recording your games and watching them back. You know, it's a good way to pick off the subtleties of, you know, things you do that you get punished for, and a great way to improve. So I ended up finishing the tournament in 6th place. At this point, I'm in 7th place, but you know, with all the great players in the tournament, I will take a 6th place finish and hope to improve. So thank you all for watching. I appreciate your time. If you're still here, like and subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next one. Peace.